I'm going to call this meeting to order for the Polk County Board of Commissioners for Wednesday, February 28th, 2024. All commissioners are present. Announcements are on the agendas. Extra copies are in the back of the room. First item up is for comments for items that are not on this agenda. Scanning, nothing. Okay, next up is approval of agenda.
So move.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed unanimously. Approval of minutes from February 21st.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed unanimously. Approval of consent calendar.
I'll move to approve consent.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed unanimously. Family and Community Outreach Update. Mr. Brent Paul DeMo. And friends. You all want a crowd? You all want a crowd around the table?
We brought 3 to talk and 2 for backup in case it gets violent.
Ooh.
We're prepared. Let me don these glasses.
Oh.
That's
We're
fun.
away, keeping us away. Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna ignore it, but
So we prepared a 2-hour presentation. Would you like us to pare that down?
Yes, please.
sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Thanks for asking.
You betcha. This meeting is starting out swell, by the way. Brent DeMo, I'm the director of the Family and Community Outreach Department. Years ago, I used to come and do a department update and it took about 5 minutes. Our department has grown quite a bit, so we are splitting this up and just talking about a few programs this time. We'll work with Nicole on coming back and doing other department updates. So if it sounds like there's some things missing, it's because there are, and that was intentional. So today we're gonna talk a little bit about the new resource center, some things in Fall City that are going on, some grants we know are coming down the pike. We'll hear about our school-based mental health program, and also Abby's going to talk about youth and prevention work and some cool things that are coming up there. We're happy to take questions about anything on the department after that, but just know we'll come back and do thorough updates later. So if you haven't heard, there's this new building on the S-curves. Getting a lot of excitement. The Polk Community Resource Center, our department moved in after Christmas. We are slowly moving partners in every week. Should be, would you say, Stephanie, by March 15th or so that everyone will be there? So let me tell you who everyone is. So just so we get a lot of questions about, did we leave any programs at the Academy building? I'm just going to let sort of the record know that all of the family and community outreach programs that were formerly in the Academy building are now at the Polk Community Resource Center behind Roth's on the S-curves. So that includes veteran services, Mid-Valley parenting, homeless prevention programs, school-based mental health headquarters. We have a food pantry there. All of the resource center programs, including rental and utility payment assistance, application fee assistance, basic needs things like diapers and wipes and clothing. We have a community mailbox program, and of course, connection to any other resource if we don't provide it there. We have navigators for the housing system and also DHS child welfare. And we have prevention programs, drug and alcohol, and youth programs. And those are all FCO, our department related things. The partners that are moving into the building are the Department of Human Services, self-sufficiency programs, Northwest Senior and Disability Services, Polk Free Clinics, Small Town Pediatrics, Catholic Community Services, West Valley Housing Authority. Public Health has their WIC program outstationed there. Community Action Agency has several programs, including energy assistance, weatherization, rapid rehousing, youth shelter and outreach, and other ARCHES programs. WorkSource Oregon is located with us, and the OHSU School Nursing Program, a 6-year partnership. They are also embedded with us there. We had our open house, which I think just about everybody in this room was at. Over 300 people were in attendance. It was great to see the community turnout. That also led to probably 10 other agencies wanting to know if they could move in with us. So I'm here to ask for another $5 million to build a 3rd and 4th floor. No?
You just put up rails around the roof.
Yeah, there you go.
We are full, completely full in the building. There is no more room for other people. So that's a very good thing. Also wanted to highlight We love having public health, not just the WIC program, but they actually 2 weeks ago held immunization clinic for school exclusions. And it was just really awesome to have public health there, taking over the lobby. And then all of those families coming in thinking they're just going to get their kids' immunizations up to date. And they got all the other resources, or at least information shared, so they know what else is available there. Coming up on March 9th, we're going to have a free vision clinic, and it's also when Polk Free Clinics does their first free medical clinic on the weekend. So Northwest Human Services will have the vision trailer van thing there. Just the community coming together to get the free medical services. The other highlight I wanted to share, and there's so many about the Resource Center, but I wanted to pick this one. Abby and I were at a meeting yesterday with Willamette Health Council, and they gave us $300,000 to use for whatever we needed to use at the Resource Center and service integration teams. And one of the big things I wanted to mention is that pesky federal food grant that we've had for a while. It goes away on the 28th, which I think is today. But this money that we have will also help us ensure that we have food every single day, not only at this Resource Center, but the Falls City Resource Center, which I will highlight next. Want me to pause it all for any questions on the S-curve site?
You just did.
Or questions?
I don't have any.
Quick question. So just for folks to know, if they want to access resources at the new Resource Center and they're in Dallas, phone, email, yes, all of the above.
All of the above, and almost every program we have, staff are still able to go and meet people where they are. That was the case when we were in Dallas too. We were meeting people all over the county if they could not get to the Academy building. So all of those things are still options. And a bunch of our programs, you can just do intake over the phone. And we have ways that people can even take pictures of their documents and text them over if they need to.
You mentioned employees from other agencies are also kind of helping with front desk and intake. How
Yeah,
is it just?
it's actually, honestly, it's beautiful. It is really cool to see other agencies get trained. Stephanie's team does an orientation of the basics of the Resource Center. So if Diana has a WIC appointment and she's working with a young mom and that mom needs a food box, Diana just knows how to go and get that herself and how to track it on the computer, let the front desk know. All of those resources are available to everybody. But I think what you're highlighting is every Thursday, Community Action Agency actually runs the front desk while Stephanie's team does a staff meeting in the morning. And you would not know that they weren't county staff. You just wouldn't know it. They do an amazing job. They're integrated in. And same for us. If there's somebody who has a question about rapid rehousing, our team is able to at least do the basics until we can find a community action staff. So we're hoping that that's going to carry forward with all of the agencies. It'll be a little different for some of them to do things a little bit different and to get cross-trained. But the minimum requirement is if you can just answer the phone if you're at the front desk, or give somebody a food box, or help somebody check their mail. If they do all of those things, it'll be great.
So do you need an appointment your first time stopping in, or can you just walk in and?
Yes and no. Anybody can walk in and it happens all the time. When you walk in, you'll leave with any basic need, food, things like that. No hesitation, no questions asked. It's always good to call to make an appointment so you can actually sit down for 20 minutes with a resource connector to have a planned intake. So we're usually able to tell you, hey, if you're needing help with rent or utilities, bring these things with you. Bring your bills with you, bring your rental agreement, whatever that might be, so they don't have to come and not have any of that and have to come back. Yes, we take walk-ins. It's better if somebody calls first and makes an appointment. Cool. Well, again, just doing high-level things. I think most of you are aware of a partnership with Willamette Health Council. Again, they earmarked $700,000 to do kind of a mini resource center in Falls City. Definitely the result of the health assessment that we did last year in Falls City, finding out what the needs were. Transportation was a barrier. Folks hoping to have more services provided there. Long story short, the funding is secured. We anticipate, we're hoping for May, but I'm going to say summer of this year that there'll be a small resource center open on the middle lot in Falls City. New development also, Willamette Health Council wants to give our department money to have a staff person up there to be the resource connector. And then this mini resource center will also house almost all of the same agencies that we have in Monmouth, but on a smaller scale. So instead of DHS being there 5 days a week, maybe Tuesdays will be the day that you can sign up for any program through DHS. I think behavioral health is also going to have staff outstationed there. Public health will have somebody there as appropriate. We'll send various team members out there and other community organizations, including having a medical provider. You guys remember Dr. Steele from the old days? He kept his license and he wants to come and also see some of his old patients. That's not going to solve all the problem, but if NAP is up there 1 or 2 days a week, that's going to be awesome. He was very loved in that community. Then the health council is working on other providers to be there too. Salem Health has ponied up $10,000 to help with the project, and we're submitting grants to the Roundhouse Foundation and a few others to just really wrap it up and make it a nice holistic project out there. Those were the highlights that I wanted to do more on the big picture stuff. And I'm going to pass the mic over to Dana if you don't have any questions about those things. Passing the mic, metaphorically.
Pass. Morning, everyone. Dana Goodale, I supervise the school-based mental health program under Family and Community Outreach. The handout that was provided in the board packet is an overall update of the services that we provided last year throughout the school year. Not a ton has changed. So we are still seeing a ton of kids. Most of our staff kind of have a caseload at any given day between 40 and 50 students that they're working with, which we rotate through the school year, of course, but that's about 500 to 600 students that we're working with at any given time. Most common referrals are still housing and basic needs. I was talking with the team this morning about how there were 3 families that came on our radar in the past 2 weeks that have had some change in housing and needed some resources to stay where they're at or get to another safe place. Family enrichment, that's like service integration stuff of baseball gloves for kids to play. Those are coming, you know, those referrals are coming through. Helmets for youth to ride bikes. A lot of working with victims assistance person through the DA, and how can we just really wrap around these youth that have had some really, really challenging experiences to bring their family some joy. And then mental and physical health services. We are not a long-term solution for any of the kids that we're working with, and recognize that. And so work really hard to refer them out to behavioral health or private therapists or doctors, primary care physicians in our community or in the Salem community to get those long-term services for them. Those still are our most common referrals that we're seeing this year. We partner a lot, as you all know, with the school districts on funding because we don't bill. The school districts pay a bulk of for our staff to be in the schools and provide these services. And as districts are experiencing some budget cuts this year and challenges with money, we are having really, really good conversations about how can we get creative to keep our staff continue to serve students in the way that we're serving them, because we have had some lapses where some staff leave and then we have an absence, and the school is definitely seeing the need that is then being absorbed by the teaching staff or behavior team staff that is just, it's a lot for them to shoulder. So it's been great having conversations with our local superintendents on how can we get creative and keep this need, keep these staff in the schools. Part of that has been us having conversations. Some of our local representatives have reached out to us because there is money on the table, so to speak, through some legislative things that they're looking to fund, maybe shovel ready projects or things that are already happening with like a one-time dollars or ongoing funding for maybe some low barrier access to mental health services, free services for youth, primarily youth in the schools. So we fit right into that, which is kind of nice. So I feel hopeful about those conversations to come in the next couple of weeks, and hoping we'll be able to offset some of those potential cuts that districts might be facing. The other thing too, we always talk about it, just the suicide screenings were on par with where we have been the past couple of years. Last year, we saw a really big spike in the amount of times we're accessing the crisis team here, the level 2 team. And they have been really, really fantastic to work with and coming out to support the youth when we need it. So that was primarily high school and middle schools. This year, we've already contacted them 20 times to come out and do some level 2 work with our youth. Our kind of judgment is anytime a youth is unwilling or unable to commit to safety, that's when we are calling the crisis team to come out and support and that higher level of need. And sometimes that looks like support with getting to the psychiatric crisis center or Salem Hospital, or a more in-depth conversation with parents and law enforcement about how are we going to keep this kid safe and keep home safe. So just wanted to really thank the crisis team for their work and their support of us and what we're doing, because they've been a huge player with how we are supporting kids throughout the district. So that's kind of all I had. I'm open for questions on specific stuff that you all would like to know about on school-based mental health.
So I'm looking right at you. And
Yeah.
you spooked me halfway through
Yeah,
with being creative with I'm guessing that's funds.
yeah,
I don't know how you'll be creative with their money.
yeah,
But the bottom line is you have to pay people
yes,
to do this work. And they're always going to want more,
Yep.
just like any of us.
Mhm.
So I don't know what creative means, but it occurs to me, I don't know that I've ever asked you this question, but if I have, I apologize, refresh my memory about, is there a statistical process that you're involved with that shows the rate of progress here and the successes against what it wouldn't be? I guess I'm saying that in a negative way, but I don't want to be, but somehow we need to let parents and families know how valuable this really is, and so that they can help advocate to their school districts to continue to fund this. I mean, I'm a huge champion for what you do and what we all do together and with the schools. And I've always been pleased that the school districts evolved to a point of saying, yep, we see that value too, we're going to step up and fund it. But while they're doing that, they're always in this mix of trying to figure out how to prioritize dollars. And if they cut any of this, to me, it seems like there's a direct impact to the results. But how do you articulate those results and make them shine?
we have talked about that for years, and just how do we do that and how do we figure that out? Because there are so many moving parts and it's really hard to show this intervention that we had with this youth this year. Let's say we met with a student all through their 8th grade year, and then by the time they get to the high school, our school-based mental health person checks in with them and they're like, I'm good, I don't need it. It's so hard to quantify how much of that was the work that they did with the mental health person at their school versus how much of it was they got connected with a baseball team. There's a change in their home that was positive for them. There's so many moving parts. It's been really great. We've had some opportunities this year where someone at our middle school got to kind of fill in for someone at the high school in that district for a week or two when they're on vacation. And for her to see the students that she worked with in 7th and 8th grade now as juniors and seniors. And she's like, they just are so eloquent, like their brains are formed more and they can have conversations. And the things that were such big deals when they were in 7th grade, they figured out how to manage those stressors, and they're passing their classes, they're showing up to school every day. And so I think one thing is, I don't want to say no news is good news, but sometimes those students that we really, really work with in, let's say 5th grade, and then we don't see the need in 6th grade, at that kind of transitional moment, we check in with them. But the hope is you're in a good spot. These interventions worked and you're doing really great. That's not always the case. But we have not found a way to quantify that, to tell that story beyond just talking and saying individual really success stories about students and staff.
Well, of course, the concern is that, we have to be respectful of people's identities and their challenges, and I get all that. But if we go so far as to, I'm not being critical, I'm just suggesting that these are some hurdles that you're experiencing, that we can't even talk to educators and administrators about our program, our partnership and success, then we've let it go too far. We're missing the advocacy element. I don't hear the advocacy out in the community for school-based mental health programs. I think people just generally don't know. And some of that is probably by design. I get that, but we probably should figure out how to overcome some of that and push those boundaries a little bit. And so the thought comes to mind is like, well, who are the biggest advocates for this be outside the parents? And that should be the educators and administrators that see these kids on a daily basis and absolutely know. I mean, if they have any experience as an educator, they know this works. And they absolutely want it to work because, as you expressed, if you're not there, they're going to be doing this work. And I've heard them lots of times say, "This is not, I'm not trained for this. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing." Counseling children. So somehow we've got to come up with a process, and maybe that's a survey. Of educators and on an ongoing basis, so that, we have that tool to be able to help school board members and superintendents understand why they can't let go of this successful program. I don't need to come and sit with you all to understand what these are. You guys do a good job of bringing us, the interaction numbers. And I just worry a lot about we slide back into some dark time if we compromise any of what we're doing today. I'm thrilled with what we're doing, and I just hate to see us move from that.
That's really great feedback.
Yeah, and for the record, I want to continue to advocate that it should be bigger. There should be more. Salem Kaiser.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how, we're not there. Yeah.
And Commissioner, I just wanted to address one thing. We are not anticipating any reduction of staff. There may be some shuffling that happens, but we're not anticipating cutting anybody.
Yeah, but we all know how school district budgets work. And we've all seen that and all heard the statements, we don't anticipate cutting anybody. And then next year there's cuts. So it's just the reality. And so I think we need to, as a community partner here and the ones bringing this high value program to the table and managing it, help all the decision makers understand they can't they can't compromise this. We don't need creative thinking on budgets here. That's my statement. Thank you.
Got it. Passing the mic, you have to pass it, Dana.
Oh, passing the mic to Abby Warren.
Thank you so much.
Prevention
Awesome.
Supervisor.
One quick question for Dana.
Yes.
Oh,
So
go.
your-
Sorry, give it back.
So real quick, so your case per therapist caseload is 40 to 50 kiddos?
Mhm.
Is that a sweet spot? Is that overextending your folks? Is that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We
Mhm.
talk, and Hillary and I have had conversations because with her role at Central High School, how much of it is you have 40 kids because that's as much as you can handle?
Right.
Or is it you have 40 kids because that's the only kids in the school that are seeking services? But it's not the latter, I'll tell you that. So we have, when we have added some positions like a resource connector or some other folks that are specifically working with school in the schools or co-facilitating groups, that has been able to free up some of that time so the therapists, or folks can do that individual work. And that, because maybe a third of the youth we're working with, it's resource connection.
Mhm.
It's helping families to get connected with places, talking about housing support, prepping them for their energy assistance appointment, showing up to IEP meetings and helping parents know about what's available to them, in the community. So a lot of, we've tried to share that resource load with some of these bachelor's level staff who can totally take that on with that focus with resource connection. But there is, one of my staff members right now at Lyle, she's like, I have this many kids on my caseload. I just got 5 new referrals. I don't know how to fit them in. Like I can reduce it to, I'm seeing these kids once every other week, or I'm going to put them in groups and get creative in that sense where these students have like concerns, and so we could totally do a group, and that's appropriate. But the referrals just keep coming, and we don't have enough space in our day to meet with them, and so.
The best case scenario we have is one full-time staff for one school building.
Yeah,
There are some staff who share multiple school buildings. There are some staff who do the whole district.
yeah.
So I think the sweet spot would be, they really need 3 to 4 staff in each building that specialize in different things, resource connection, groups with kids, and then one-on-one kinds of things. But although districts every year have paid more, with the exception of this Dallas School District budget cut that's coming up, they all want to have more staff. It's finding that funding. I'm at least optimistic that the legislature, several different representatives, senators, and others are recognizing the need for mental health services beyond OHP in schools. Does anything happen in the short session? Don't know, but sometimes those lead to more and more conversations in the large session about why aren't we funding mental health services that are accessible to all kids in schools, regardless of ability to pay or insurance type.
That was my next question. If there's anything at the Department of Education that would align with this program. I know you've asked yourself that question many times and there isn't. So maybe there's some advocacy we can help with too.
And I think overall, we feel very supported by the schools. We present at school boards on a regular basis. We meet with administration on a regular basis. Does that trickle to every parent and those folks knowing about it? Probably not as good as we could do.
As long as the kids know about it.
Yeah.
Programmatically, but
And that's
advocacy.
like our referrals, we have maybe a third of our students are like they have a successful interaction with one of our staff members, and then when their friend is having an issue, they're like, you should go talk to Hillary, you should go talk to Elia, which is huge. So that student identified, we try real hard to make it really clear in the schools that you can just kind of walk in and say, I need to talk with so-and-so, and you don't have to be referred from a parent or a staff member, but the majority of referrals are coming from staff who are seeing these issues, students not showing up to school, they're sleeping through the first 2 periods of the day, they're consistently hungry, or whatever. And then they send them our way and we chat with them about what's going on, but.
You've essentially piloted a program, created a program that could work universally.
Yeah.
I'm sure this isn't in every school district in Oregon.
We presented at the school-based health center conferences before. And yeah, there's a lot of
How did
questions.
you do that?
Yeah, how did you do this? How did you, where's the funding come from? How did you do that? How did this work?
There
Yeah.
are a few counties in Oregon out of 36 that have school-based mental health staff, but it's related only to kids who have OHP, only billable services for the Oregon Health Plan. We have not ever seen another district have a school-based mental health program like Polk County has had, where it's accessible to everybody. Dana, final question for you. Looking at your handout in the bottom right, it says that there were 341 suicide screenings completed. Is that just year to date so far this school year?
No,
Or is
that was last year.
Okay.
Year to date, we've done 247 in the past 5 months.
Wow. And that's at just four districts,
Yeah.
247 suicide screenings. And a surprising amount of those are in elementary schools.
Yeah, that's the other concern.
To Commissioner Pope's point, it is important that even if we can't quantify everything, we could get some good qualitative
Right.
Yeah,
data and maybe we have somebody help us assess that program.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's it. Yeah.
I know it's impossible to do, but I always think about, just the suicide screening chart here. If that resulted in avoiding one,
Right.
just one,
Right.
it's worth everything. And I know that it's impossible to say
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
a fact. But, if we could figure out how to say, but it is the magic that helps keep kids from falling into that dark space. Because eventually, these numbers are they're very serious. And what you just said for year to date is even worse.
I know.
Just alarming the elementary kids at that age.
Uh-huh.
That's when life's supposed to be fun and good and games.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're having thoughts like that. It says a lot about society, where we're at today.
Yeah, the 4th and 5th grade, we've seen a big increase in really concerning safety behaviors the past year or two.
How much is that COVID related?
A chunk of it, yeah, I think both for them, like the inability to develop social skills with peers and how to handle problems and situations, and even how do you handle problems within your home, you know, parents, and we are working on it. We've done a lot of helping smaller districts to develop like what we call a tier 1 intervention system. So something school-wide, like positive behavior.
Right.
How are we going to talk to the kids? How are we going to address concerning behaviors? Just a lot of, how are we going to helping districts to bring in professionals to have conversations about like inappropriate touching and stuff like that. Just a school-wide bringing up the level of social emotional knowledge and how to handle yourself and how to handle when someone else says something inappropriate to you. And
Yeah.
Imagine the impacts on other children who, you know, otherwise might be distracted by some of that and
Yeah.
might distract their learning.
Right.
So it just
Right.
builds a healthy school community.
trying.
And I just want to thank you, Hillary, and others again for the privilege to sit in with some of these group meetings with these kids, the emotional intelligence and openness with which they express these things. If I had that as a kid, I would have
Right.
been much more well-adjusted as a kid.
Thank you.
It's really powerful. I'm fine.
Okay, passing the mic to Abby
Okay.
officially.
Great, thank you. Awesome. Well, my name is Abby Warren. I'm here to represent our prevention program. That's a program I have the opportunity to supervise and be involved in some of the activities. So I'm just going to give you a brief highlight reel of some of the cool things we have coming up and some of the things we've secured over the last little bit of time. So our 2024 youth conference is coming up in March. We're going to host at Western Oregon University this year. We have 7 schools and educational programs that have all agreed to come on board. So we're estimating about 600 students this year. That's about 100 more than we had last year, which is really cool to see the growth in that program this year. This is really aimed at getting kids sparked their interest in what could the future look like. We know students have better outcomes when they're excited about something, when they can connect to something or some picture of what the future can look like. And we know that that's going to be unique to each of our students. So we're going to have 10 different tracks that students can be a part of on our youth conference day. And those range across the board from vocational tracks, educational tracks, but they're going to hear in any track they're in, they're going to hear from a couple of industry leaders that day that are all local Polk County folks that are going to come talk about what they do, talk about how they got there, talk about some of the real stories of their paths that might have been varied and complicated, but how they came to where they are now and what they'd recommend for students that are interested in that career themselves. We're really excited. Those tracks came directly from student reports. So we took a big scale survey in 2022 of students to ask what career fields are of interest to you? What might you be interested in? So based on those results, we took the top 10, and those are the tracks that students are currently registering for. So we're taking this week and last week and the week prior, and we're getting everybody registered. They're going to come and have a great day with us. This is also being integrated into a lot of the programming that schools are already doing. So they have some supplementary courses where students will come and be talking about careers already. And so this fits right into the programming that the schools are already doing. So we're really excited about that.
I was gonna
Go ahead.
say, if you tell them the date, we'd also like to invite you. It's a fun day to just come out for a couple hours
Mhm.
and check it out.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
cool. We have
It's
everything
great.
from a tattoo artist coming to talk
Right.
about what it's like, how much money do you make being a tattoo
Mhm.
artist?
Mhm.
How you can mess up
How'd you get
people's
there?
skin forever, for a living. All the way to, you know, doctors and lawyers, wineries, anything that you could think of that's
Yeah.
a career a youth might go into. But what's the date of it?
Yeah, so it's March 20th. It's a Wednesday, and it's a good chunk of the day. We'll have folks there from about 8 to about 3 p.m. So anytime that you want to come in, we'd be happy to have y'all. It'd
And
be
at
really fun.
Warner?
It's at Western Oregon University. We'll be centered out of the Warner University Center, kind of that main hub on campus.
You had a ton of attendance last year. Do you remember what that was?
Mhm. Yeah, we had just over about 500 students last year. So again, we anticipate 600 this year. So growth since last year, and a couple of new programs that are on board this year that couldn't attend last year. So
And we do high school juniors intentionally, so they have some time to maybe adjust what they were thinking about in high school and prep for
Right.
if they get excited about something.
yeah, exactly, kind of that.
So who coordinates and manages the presenters?
That's all us. Polk County. Annie Buse is really
Mhm.
lead on that. We support as well,
Mhm.
but yeah, she's lead on making those contacts, those communications with different
How
persons.
does she get access to those people? Where's that list come from?
A bunch of different channels. So we go to our service integration teams and talk about the opportunity and get recommendations that way. We then talk to each individual person that we've reached out to. We also use, our team and other community contacts. Annie's pretty big in the chambers in the area, so she's been also connecting through our chamber connections. So really, most of it is personal connection with business partners, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the business connections we have, but a lot of this is all kind of integrated together. So a lot of the partnerships have already been established, but for some that we need extra support, we've leaned on other community channels to get recommendations. And then Annie goes through, does a small, quick interview with folks that she's not super familiar with yet, gets a gauge of how they'd be as a presenter, and then schedules them into a slot for the conference.
Do we have staff engaged in this from our workforce board?
Yes. Yep. There are staff that have been involved in the whole planning process, and then also staff that'll be there on site that day in a volunteer capacity. Yeah. Great.
Thank you. That's a
Yeah.
new thing and we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
It's good to have the workforce board part of a
Mhm.
workforce conference.
Yeah.
Kathy and Dean specifically?
Yeah, it's been good stuff. It's been really good. So yes, we have lots of great stuff. Other folks to mention too, folks like SEDCOR have been involved in supporting the planning process, and other community members too. So it's been a really cool initiative to see it come together. And we'll have about 30 speakers that day. Students won't hear from all 30, but based on their track, they're going to hear from at least 3 speakers, and then we'll have some keynote stuff at the beginning. So it's going to be great.
And how are, sorry.
Please, no,
On this,
no,
as
this
the
is great.
chief elected official for 4 counties and workforce,
Please.
I want to understand what the evaluation process is for those presenters.
Yeah.
How's that happening?
Yeah, so we have a standard evaluation for each of the sessions that students go to. So they're able to rate the content that they learned. They're able to give us some specific feedback, which actually last year we really used and applied. Last year, a lot of the biggest piece of feedback that we could use to improve the conference was that students felt like they were sitting a lot. They felt like they didn't get as much engagement as they were hoping for. And so this year we've implemented a whole segment that's only going to be simulations, where students are going to go out and get to touch and feel and have a little bit more of an experiential session. And so for one example, Kona Ice is going to come bring their truck. Justin, who owns all the regional trucks, is going to come talk about his experience and how he does this, where he sells, where his sales come from, all the good stuff. He'll show them the truck, show them how it works, and do some of that more hands-on piece to provide a little bit more engagement. So students give us that kind of feedback to tell us what pieces they'd like to see improved, what content they took away. We ask students to articulate to us, what did you learn today, or what inspired you today? What are you taking away from your experience talking to this person in a career that's of interest to you? And they get to do that for each of the sessions that they attend. We saw a really great success rate with those surveys as far as completion. We had about 400 completed surveys out of the 500 students that were in attendance. So we had a pretty high rate of completion on those surveys, and lots of that qualitative feedback to give us some of those little nuggets of who was a really successful facilitator and who could we help support a little bit more to just up that engagement a little bit. Students also could rate the session too. So there were some, numbers that we could say, which ones were the, most highly rated sessions and pieces like that. But we do have a standard evaluation form for the event.
So so how long have you been doing this now? 2 years,
Last year
3
was
years?
the first one. Well, we tried to do it
It
the
was
year
painful.
before, but the
Yeah.
HR director canceled everything because of COVID. I'm just waiting for you, Matt. No, COVID happened and we couldn't do
We
it.
had the worst date possible planned. It was March
the week
20th
of-
of 2020. And so, yeah, it obviously got canceled that year.
So my thinking is, again, I've never seen the
Yeah.
results of the
Yes.
survey.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if the thought has occurred to you, or if you've engaged in a function of reporting to the actual workforce board of the
Mm.
results of this project.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, again, the workforce board, all the people, and I talk about the workforce board, the big board.
Yep.
It's 51% business and, community business people.
Right.
And
Right.
they're always hungry to hear, what are we doing that is showing signs of success in helping give our youth a vision of what they could be doing.
Right.
But I've never heard any of those results, and generally I've been soured on other conferences
Yeah.
that have happened over time. I think several of us have been involved in some of those. There's usually not a post survey that's done. There's very little feedback to the business members or, the
Yes.
community members that are engaged in it.
Yes.
And, I mean, I can think of a number of people I'd like to see engaged in it, but I don't know how I would present
Right, right.
the success or
Absolutely.
the results. And again, you're brand new in this, but I'm just thinking, to bring the workforce board members more into the view of
Absolutely.
what are we doing here in Polk County? I mean, again, give you guys lots of kudos for everything that you're doing and the successes of that. Hopefully the school districts are as well, but again, having a process that our workforce board members say, these are the kinds of exposures we want to be a part of. So that's my suggestion.
Thank you.
Having the results, survey results more broadly distributed in the future so that we know how that turned out and
Absolutely.
keep us more engaged, because honestly, all we get is, for the most part, is stuff from statistics in the state of Oregon.
Right.
It's not very good.
Yeah.
So,
One of the ways that you can consider helping, I emailed Annie last night to ask what sectors are represented and where we're missing. Kids really wanted to see what it was like to run a food truck. So we are looking for a food truck connection. If anybody who's hearing this has a connection, reach out to me or Abby. We'd love to have a food truck on site and a successful business owner in that way.
Yeah.
We have tons of representation from art, healthcare, first responder,
Yeah.
trades, culinary, athletics, military, criminal justice, business, counseling, veterinary medicine. We have a nuclear engineer coming, other engineers, so the nerds are gonna be well taken care of. It looks pretty robust, but we're looking for a food truck owner.
Yeah. If anybody
And we
has
try, our preference is to always have it be a Polk County business
Yeah.
person if we can, if it exists here.
Yeah.
You can ask the folks who run the Dallas one.
Yeah, any connection you have, and when is it again? March
20th.
It's coming up, so
And they're quick, short segments, so I can send you more information.
people don't
if
have to
you're-
commit to the whole day. They could
Yep.
commit for just a
They're
couple of
40
hours.
40-minute sessions.
40 minutes apparently.
Or a couple of hours, whatever they prefer. It's great. Yeah, so I love that suggestion. We can absolutely do that. We take that feedback really seriously because we want it to be something that students are getting something away from. This is a school day that they're spending with us, and we take that seriously. We want it to be fruitful. We want good connections to come out of it. So we would love to share that and to share what we learned from this.
yeah, I think it's important. I've been doing this for more than 30 years and engaged in this kind of work. And
Right.
it really irritates me that a lot of these become just a field trip day for students.
Right.
And it's a socialization day. And I've been in the rooms. I've watched it happen. I've seen business owners go, well, why am I here? What was this about?
Right.
And so, I strongly promote, we've got to have them engaged, and the more hands-on they can be, the better. But any successes that we can demonstrate, I want to amplify that.
Good. Yes.
I want you to come and check ours out because
I would
we
like to.
designed this one because of the suck you just described at other ones. Ours is completely unique and I think
Yeah.
you'll be impressed when you
Yeah.
come and check it out on the 20th.
Yes,
We're just gonna send you a calendar invite and make
Great.
sure y'all come.
please.
Perfect.
We would love to have you there. Yeah.
Have you reached out to Indie Commons?
To Indie Commons?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're plugged in with Alex Osedgor, who's also super engaged with the Indie Commons group. So yeah, we have some connections
Yeah.
with that group. Yes. Yeah, it's been cool to see lots of folks really excited and kind of like you're describing, wanting to share in a really fruitful way to students. And so I think it's going to be a really cool event. I'd love for you all to come and see it and take a look at the different sessions and the different just variety of engagement happening throughout the day, because it's pretty exciting. Just a little plug, if you're interested in seeing more of the hands-on stuff, that's happening towards the end of the day, and we can include that in the email. Just, to get a little bit of that flavor of what that looked like towards the end of the day. We'd love to have you there. Cool. Any other conference related questions? So, thank you. Another thing I just briefly wanted to highlight is we did another round of our youth activity mini grants. We had 14 youth serving organizations that applied and were granted a total of $40,000 across Polk County to continue or expand youth programming that they're already doing for the county. And so instead of us trying to reinvent the wheel and do a bunch of brand new things, we wanted to connect with folks that have youth engaged in youth specific programming based on the things they're really interested in. And so we had about a little bit over 20 total applications, and we narrowed it down to the top 14. The folks that helped us narrow it down were youth youth advisors that met with us and scored each application. We didn't give any context ahead of time. It was a totally unbiased scoring process where the students got to read through the applications, and then they were the ultimate decision makers on who got funded, which was really cool to see students get really excited. A lot of the students we worked with are ones that have been engaged in programming in the past, so it was cool for them to get to be in a space where they're getting to make some decisions about what's happening in the community and how this is going to impact students and what's really of interest to them. We asked the folks that applied to tie this back to, again, our youth interest survey that talked not only about future careers, but about current activities that they're interested in. So we asked that these groups demonstrated, how are you making sure that this project isn't just something you made up, but this project is something that students have either reported to you or reported on the survey, that this was a highly rated activity that they'd be very interested in participating in. So we have representation on these activities across Polk County, and there were some really neat applications that came out this year. So we have 14 unique youth serving organizations that were awarded this funding. We actually have a red carpet event for all of the awardees. It's happening on Friday. So if you're interested in coming to that, you'll hear just a little bit from each of those folks. They're also all invited to bring a youth committee member who helped in the process of developing the application, because we'd love to hear from the youth that will benefit from these programs, come and present on the project that they're involved in at some
So what time is that happening?
yeah, it starts at 5.
It starts at 6.
6, right.
It's at
we'll
the
be there
Dallas
at
Event
5:30.
Center here in town.
Yep.
Doors will open at 5:30,
Yep.
but we'll have snacks and drinks, and we're contracted with a media company to live stream it. So anyone who can't make it but wants to watch it can do that, and come and take some photos and stuff. It's just, we've never done like a red carpet event for the award. We're just going to be giving certificates and having them talk about what they were funded for, and just really a celebration of the work that they are going to do.
And anyone is welcome to attend or watch via live stream, whatever.
We'll send you the links and the invite when we're done here.
Thank you. The other thing I just wanted to highlight quickly is the Willamette Health Council awarded $100,000 to support our youth engagement and programming. And that was a shared application between school-based mental health and our prevention team. That's going to go to support things like our mini grant projects, our youth conference, and other youth opportunities like we have here below. Those include things like our job readiness program, which is like a precursor to a full internship program where we're meeting different industry leaders, having mock interviews, developing job ready documents, getting prepared to enter then the workforce. And then our internship program is a 6 weeks hands-on on-site work experience opportunity where students typically will have students start with the job readiness, flow into the full internship opportunity where they're placed at businesses across Polk County, earning a small stipend for their time. And so it's a great opportunity, as well as the Dallas Youth Garden. We partner with them too to help support the internship process of that program as well. So lots of opportunities for students to not only envision their future, but then also gain that real work experience to be really effective members of our society, to jump into work-related spaces sooner than later. So students really see a lot of success in those programs as well, and make really important connections too with business leaders. We've seen some job opportunities come from these experiences, and so we're excited to continue to do those things moving forward. And from partnerships like the Willamette Health Council and others, we're able to continue to make those things happen.
If it sounds somewhat familiar, a lot of these programs stemmed from the county commissioner grant you guys gave us close to 4 years ago to do some economic development and provide job opportunities for youth. Every year we find a different funding stream to keep it going. But the seed money came from you guys, and the internship program has been super successful,
Really
and that's led to these other things.
Yep. And so I hope we're demonstrating that there's kind of this whole package for prevention program. We also do traditional prevention programming where Annie's, attending classes, helping support education around some of these things that we don't want students to get involved in, like drug use, alcohol use. But we also want to pair that with opportunities for kids to get plugged in instead of just telling them and providing that important education, which is a part of it, to say this is the health outcomes, but then also providing that other space where students can plug in and discover new things, learn, and get engaged into these programs that will help benefit them moving forward.
So this concludes our 5-minute BOC.
Yeah,
update.
really long 5 minutes.
We also, Please, any other questions?
Anything to plug in for partnership and engagement with OSU Extension?
You know, part of the extension program, we're one of the recipients of our mini grant opportunity. And so that would be probably the biggest pairing right now with that program, not to be that couldn't, be something in the future that we engage in more.
But not engaged with extension folks on a regular basis, though.
But besides service integration, not one-on-one with that program at this point.
One of our elementary schools has, our school-based mental health staff member has kind of cultivated a greenhouse, and he runs a garden group in the spring and had some master gardeners and some folks from OSU Extension come out this last, winter to talk about it and look at it and how they're, hopefully OSU Extension will be a part of that this spring. But yeah.
We do, at the service integration team, the extension folks will share out flyers and opportunities for all of their programming. And so then the school-based mental health staff are the point person. So like I'll blast that out to staff and to students so they know what the opportunities are. And then there's bulletin boards, you can do different things. So I would say that we're a funnel of information so that students have access opportunities.
Including Juntos?
They've been at something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of.
Yeah.
They've had a presence at the central service integration over the last couple of months.
I was always looking for that, just to connect
Yes.
collaboration.
Yes,
Great.
absolutely. Yeah.
We never want to pass up an opportunity to also say thank you to the board and to administration and support for these kinds of things. We don't have a big Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, all of those kinds of things in rural areas. When kids don't have something to do or they don't have people to connect with in the schools, they tend to engage in more risk-taking behavior. So we always appreciate the support that supports the youth and families too. So thank you guys for that.
To pass on a quick kudos to related to that. But I discovered at an AOC conference that we have a regional overdose prevention person that covers Marion, Yamhill, and Polk. And I met with her just to see what's going on the ground with fentanyl, especially. And she just glows about the prevention team. There's real upstream programs like this and how it's integrated organically with the drug, alcohol, and gambling prevention stuff. So she literally said, I don't think the issue is as bad in Polk County because of the partnership and the prevention team. So
Thank you for sharing.
pretty amazing.
In super layman's terms, the state pays us to have Annie go to a school and say, don't do drugs. And that's what most counties do. Their person goes to schools and say, don't do drugs and don't drink. It's bad for you. We take it to the next level of trying to provide these avenues for kids to actually get involved and put that into practice.
I just want to say, as most county departments run, seems like we set the standard for the state. You guys really do. So thank you.
We're glad to be here and now we're glad to leave.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
All right. That concludes our regular agenda. Do we have a need for an executive session?
No, sir.
Okay. Anything else? Go to the order. Hearing none, we are adjourned.